great privilege to get started on our very first program in the water everywhere, but who cares? And I want to introduce the first of our very fine group of speakers who have volunteered, given their own time, and come for each of these 5 Sundays. And Ben Wright is with the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy's Watershed Protection Assistance Program. I think I said that correctly. He will correct me. I've had the privilege of working with Ben on numerous projects, and it's my great pleasure to welcome him here today to talk about watersheds defined.
Thank you. I'm going to try and hook this doohickey madwab up, but it's going backwards for the way my shirt's designed, so give me a second. Watersheds defined. Wow. You know, if I was coming to that, I'd think that this guy's... What am I supposed to do with this before I... Just stick it in my pocket. Okay. I think, boy, this guy is going to talk to us about, he's going to give us some technical definitions and all of these different things that we can use in everyday life, and he's going to give me a PowerPoint presentation. Perhaps you noticed I have no computer here. I have no PowerPoint presentation. When I speak, I'm a very hands-on sort of speaker, and I think that the first thing and the most important thing to do is get an audience involved with the subject. So we'll do that real quick. We'll go over the agenda and sort of what I have planned so you can get an outlook of what's going to happen. First, I'm going to get into an icebreaker activity here in about a minute or so. And then we're going to do some introductions, and then we get into the actual definition. We're going to actually define what a watershed is. If that's not fun enough, I'm going to have you build a watershed using some materials that I brought with me. So you'll get to build your own. That's a good time. And you can make it as big or as small as you want. You can pretend you live in Montana. You can pretend you live in Pittsburgh, wherever you want to be. Different things that affect your watersheds. And then we're going to play a game, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Only I modified it quite a bit. So you're not going to have to answer any questions. So it's not the actual game, but I thought that might get your attention. And then we're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to get into some discussion. So as you can see, I have all this stuff planned and all these activities planned for you. And just in case I fly through that, because every time I get up in front of a crowd, I start talking faster and faster, and I hurry things along. I even threw in an activity 4 that I can do. And I'll leave you some question time at the end. But because I'm going to be doing these activities and interacting with you, I sort of hope that you do the same for me. If you do have questions, or if I'm not explaining something clearly, please don't hesitate to yell at me, smack me around, anything you want to throw things. I gave you all chocolate. One of the reasons you can have that is if you need my attention, feel free to throw it at me. Also, I brought with me today my wife. This is Carol. Carol works with the Loyalhanna Watershed Association, and because I'm always running on the weekends, I'm trying to bring her with me everywhere I go. Otherwise, I don't get to see her. So, my icebreaker activity. Pretend that the world is about this big around. So take the world and shrink it down. On the world, how much of the world is water? Everybody should know this, right? Most of it. That's actually true, but can you give me a percentage? 75%. Right on. Good job. I'd give you another chocolate, but I'm out. Okay, so we're going to say that all the water on Earth is right here. This is 75% of the water on Earth. This is to sort of get you into the reality of the situation at hand. So if all the water on Earth is right here, how much of this water is ocean water? Another 3/5. How about a percentage? Give me a percentage. The 3/5 I'm not real good at. Fractions I'm not a math whiz. So anybody have any guesses percentage-wise? It's higher. You can't answer this. What's that? Higher. Higher. 97%. 97% of the water found on Earth is salt water. It's in the oceans. So that leaves us how much in fresh water? 3%. So bear with me. Again, I'm not a math genius, but we're going to say that of all the water on Earth, we're going to fill about half of this beaker up, and we're going to say that this is all the fresh water on Earth. All right, so here's all of our fresh water. Where is 2% of this, do you think? What might it be? Icebergs. So now we have 2% of the total fresh water on Earth into an iceberg. So that's leaving us about 1%. So I brought this little guy. This is the total amount of fresh water that we can get to on Earth. Now, of this fresh water, how much do you think is actually potable or drinkable? Half? Somebody have a pencil or a pen I can borrow? Well, we'll do it this way. Of all of this is all the fresh water on Earth. We, as a 600 and how many billion now people? 6 point some billion, people, have to share about that much. So of all that water, we have 1 drop available that we can actually drink. So the title of this program is Water, Water Everywhere, but who cares? Well, hopefully by this activity, we all care. With 1 drop, everybody's hearing about the droughts and things that are going on in Pennsylvania and throughout the world, water shortages, rivers drying up. People are fighting for that 1 drop. So there's certain things that we have to do. Some of the things that we can do is we can preserve or protect what we have. That's number 1. Number 2, we can start to clean up what we've destroyed in the past. That's number 2. And I'm going to get into all of these sort of things today, but what I want to do is sort of get you involved right now. I don't know your names. You know our names. I know some of your names, I guess. I met you today. But what Carol's going to do is, because we have that 1 drop of water, what I'd like to do is I'd like you to introduce yourself, and I'd like you to give me 1 thing that you use water for. Now, Carol's going to write them down, because what happens all the other times is people will use the same thing over and over. I don't want to make it that easy on you. So, I'll start right here. Wash your car. And your name is? Bob Raymond. Bob Raymond washes his car. All right, good job. Next. Drinking, okay. I'm going to try and remember your names. Please forgive me if I forget. Drinking. Cooking. What was your name again? Warren. Warren, okay. Bob Jan Warren. I got it so far, but after that, I'm going to be in trouble. John? Bathe. Very good. And we're just going to go from left to right, sort of. Dishes, okay. Oh, yeah, good idea with the name thing. That's why I bring her, see? Flushing toilets. There's a good, yeah. Kurt? Joyce and Kurt. Flushing his toilet. Okay, next. Oh, come on. Vaughn, okay. Well, you don't have to particularly do that. What I want to know is something that you see it used for. You don't have to do it. Washing clothes, okay.
And then Shimer,
Pool. Oh, there's a big one. See, I've made it more difficult for you folks who are at the end. Okay. Can we just say garden? How's that? Yeah. Vegetables, flowers, it sort of encompasses everything. I want to make it real difficult for Tracy. Manufacturing. All right, that wasn't that hard. I thought you'd have to think for a second or two. Oh, yeah. Okay, Ed, shaving. And back to the back. Yep. Boy, I'll tell you. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's good. Good. Okay. And Preston, you're not getting off the hook just because you're on the video camera. Making beer. Actually, that's a huge use of water. I'm sorry, what was your name again? I know Paige, but Paul. And then Preston was beer. Okay, can anyone think of anything else we use water for? Irrigation. Anyone else? Power generation. Boating. Firefighting. Air conditioning. Hold on 1 second because I got to let her catch up. See, she writes neatly. I don't, so it's beneficial to have her doing this. Recreation, firefighting, cooling. We got it. Okay. Anyone else? Recreation sort of encompasses fishing, I guess, but I mean, there's something that I use water for quite a bit. Anyone else think of anything you use water for? I'm sure that we will as the day goes on. As you think about that question, you'll start thinking, boy, I use it. And oh yeah, go ahead. Food source, okay. We use it for supporting food source. And as you go on and on and on today, I want you to keep that in mind. And as you leave here, I want you to keep that in mind, because as you start noticing how much water you actually use, it's going to be mind-boggling. They say the average family uses 200 gallons of water a day. Now think about what I said earlier. 1 drop we all share, and the average family uses 200 gallons of that a day. That's a lot of water that we're using, right? So I'm going to sort of let you ponder that, and we'll hang that up on the wall, and maybe later today when we give you a break, assuming we have time to give you a break, you can go up if you think of something else that you might want to add to that, and add it. And I'll leave all this stuff with you so you can use it in the future. You could take copies of it. You can do whatever you'd like with it. What I want to do is, because I wanted to do water, but what I want to focus on here is watersheds. Does anyone know what a watershed is? Tracy, don't answer. Anyone? Where the water winds up? Okay.
It's the land area that is from which all the water in a certain stream flows.
Very good. That's actually the technical definition. The technical definition for watersheds is the area of land which drains to a common point. Okay, well, technically that's right, but if you told me, in fact, somebody did tell me, I think in my college science course, this is what a watershed is, and I learned that definition inside out and backwards, and when test time came, I aced that definition. I still had no idea what a watershed was, though. So what I'm going to do today is 2 things. One, I want you to be able to understand what a watershed is by looking at it, and Carol, because she's artistic, made this. In Pennsylvania, you have hills and you have valleys, and you can see the hills and the valleys. If a drop of water, and what we're going to represent a drop of water with today is a gumball. If a drop of water, well, I didn't need that many for this. If a drop of water were to hit anywhere in here, where would it go? It'd go down. It'd go from the highest point down off the river. If you want to eat it off the floor, you're welcome to, but I'll get it here in a second. So as you can see, that water is going to go down the valleys into the small streams. Those small streams come together to make bigger streams. Those bigger streams come together to make rivers. So, do you live in a watershed? Yeah. No matter where you live on the face of the earth, and this is a mind-boggling one, you live in a watershed. Whether it's big or whether it's small, you still live in a watershed. All right? Obviously, we all know what watershed we live in now, right? How about this? We all know what watershed we're in now. How's that? McLaughlin Run. Right here's a stream. So we know that the smallest watershed we're in is McLaughlin Run. Now, I don't know where McLaughlin Run. Does it run right to the Allegheny? Chartiers. And Chartiers goes Allegheny. Ohio. Ohio goes to the Mississippi. Mississippi goes to the Gulf of Mexico. So technically, if I went out there and I use something disgusting when I explain this to kids, so I won't do that for you. If I threw the gumball into McLaughlin Run, that gumball would affect everyone from this point the whole way down to the Gulf of Mexico. That's a lot of people, if you think about it. And at the same token, people that live above you, if they throw a gumball in it, it's going to affect everyone down to here. So folks harp and moan and they cry about, and you hear this on TV, recycle. Okay, why do you recycle? Well, because a landfill affects the watershed. Well, don't change your oil and drip it all over the yard. Keep your car maintained. Why would you do that? Because that oil affects a watershed and affects everybody downstream. And we're pretty high up on a watershed if you think about all the states it has to run through. These are starting to melt in my hand. All the states it has to run through and all of those things. So if you do anything, you want to think about how this is going to affect what happens downstream. And I read a quote the other day that I think fits this perfectly. That's what I think anyway. The quote said, you can read about what we as humans do on land in every drop of water. And that's very true. Whatever we do to this surface out here, whether we put a house on it, whether we water our lawn, whether we have a lawn or cement, pave our driveway, you can read about what you're doing in the water. It's sort of like the artery of life, the artery of the earth. So I've talked to you too long now. I didn't want to do that long. What we're going to do is, you see this watershed? Well, I'm going to have you guys build one. All right, so I don't want you to sit down anymore. I'm going to bring this tarp back to you, and I don't care. You can use whatever resource you want. You can use each other. You can use the tables, the chairs. You can have people hiding under the tarp. But the goal is you're going to have ridges and valleys, and you're going to, best watershed you can think of, and I'm going to dump a bucket of gumballs on them all over the place, and that thing better run down into the valleys and then down to one common watershed. See, you're all going to have fun doing this. I'm going to be your favorite at the end. I can tell already. Okay, so, Carol, if you could help me out, we'll get this tarp out to you. And I really want you to, I know this is going to be hard to video, so I apologize for that. But I really want you to stand up, take the tarp, do whatever you want with it. But at the end, when you're ready, and you're going to tell me when you're ready, I'm going to have this thing, I'm going to test your watershed. If you have a watershed, you understand how it works, you understand what they look like. And I know that this isn't the most scientific method and the most scientific way to get into it. But for you, you can visualize both, wherever I put that model that Carol had made. Oh yeah, right here. You can visualize both this, and you can visualize the watershed that you've actually built. And if you picture that, that's where you live. So some of the things that I want to ask you now, we're going to create yet another list, is I want you to come up fast, but slow enough that Carol can keep up with you. All of the impairments, all of the challenges that your watershed might face. So what things do we as humans do to affect the water in our backyard? Salt the roads. That's a good one. Carol complains about that every day. Pave the roads. How does impervious surfaces? Yeah, paving. How does that affect the watersheds? Does anyone know? Run away, right. Also, another thing folks don't think about is, when you're in the middle of August and the stream starts to dry up, well, the base flow from that stream, or the little trickle that you see, comes from the ground. If you pave over the ground where the water can't get back into there, you've influenced what they call base flow of a stream. So impervious surfaces do two things. During storms, boy, do they increase the water runoff. I mean, we've all seen that. Number two, they make your droughts about 10 times more severe. All right, sorry, got off on a tangent. Anyone else? What else we got? Fertilize. Over-fertilize. How's that? Woo! You know what's funny? I'm going to go off on a tangent with each of these, and I apologize for that. But what's funny about fertilization is folks say there's an article in the Philadelphia Inquirer about a year ago. Talked about a farmer down in Fayette County that had a manure pit break. Pretty bad for the stream, I mean, if you think about all the nutrients that got into it. But the reporter didn't go into any other detail. We did a little bit of research, and we wrote him a letter pointing out that the most fertilizer or the most nutrients that come from a field don't come from farms. Where do you think they come from? Actually, urban area lawns. That's the number one, because most folks, and I think this way too, if 1 gallon is what it calls for, my grass will grow this high if I put 7 gallons on. Well, that doesn't really happen. I mean, that stuff runs off as soon as you put it on. It can only take so much. So, anyway, sorry, go ahead. What's that? Pesticides. I'm going to try not to go off on tangents because I'll run us off way too much. Okay, next. Lord. So maybe over paving? Over development. Okay, well, there you go. You had one. Trash in a stream. Okay, that definitely affects it. Yeah, not keeping it properly maintained. I mean, a brand new one we would hope wouldn't drip stuff, but you never know. So cars, not keeping them maintained, right? Okay. How would we say that? Industrial, household waste. All right, there we go. Good. Anything else? Erosion. Okay. So erosion by leaving things uncovered, by leaving bare soil there. Not having roots left, yes. Burying trash. There's permits, or there's, yes, but there's some things that the state has taken action to say that they have to do, but how long does a rubber liner really last, you know? We'll find out, I guess. Okay. Altering stream, yeah. So we'll say that includes piping, straight channeling, trying to do all kinds of stuff. Anyone else? Dams? What's that? Storm sewers, that's a good one. What did you say, Chief? Culverts, storm sewers. Oh, we'll wait for Carol there. Oh, she put it all there. Okay. Agriculture waste, how's that? Okay, that's a good one. Anyone else? I'll give you an example. I'll give you something to think about here. You ready? Right now, I mean, without the building, without doing anything, just sitting in this room, we're impacting a watershed somehow. Might not be yours, but it's one that's impacted. How are we doing it? Electrical generation. What generates electricity? Steam. How do they get the steam so hot that it moves the turbine? They burn coal. Where do they get coal? They mine it. And what's left after a coal mine? Waste. And if it's not treated properly, what happens to the stream? AMD, abandoned mine drainage. So heating homes, heat, sometimes if it's electric, and electricity. What I do when I talk to kids and they finally get that, I say, you know, make a deal with your parents. Tell them you're really involved with the environment, and tell them that you will save them $100 or whatever money you can save them in their electric bill, they have to give to you. Okay, so you take their average electric bill over the year, and then you have a kid going around shutting off all the lights because at the end, he's going to get the money to return. He'll turn down the heat at night, he'll shut off the lights, he'll turn down the heat when, and I'll tell you, I had one kid write me a letter, said he's making $150 a month from his mother. And she said she'd rather give it to him than give it to some Allegheny Energy, or not that I'm against Allegheny Energy. I'm just saying rather than an energy company. All right, what else can we do? Take shorter showers. That's right, take short showers. We'll sort of shift that. Here's things that we'll do two things. We'll do, you know, effects, you know, things that we do to impair a stream, and then some of the things that you can do as you're thinking about it that might reverse some of those effects. Laundry detergent, right? Well, make sure you have a good sewage. I mean, I think everybody here is on an online sewage system in Pittsburgh, but out where I live, not necessarily the case. It could be true. I'm not real familiar with the manufacturing of it. I know that paper waste in the past, in Tyrone, I don't know if you folks have driven by Tyrone. Lately it's much better, but boy, 10, 15, well, 20 years ago now, if you drove by Tyrone, you would, you know, roll the windows up, plug your nose, and hope all the air fresheners, because the paper waste was going right into the Juniata River. They would just dump it. So industrial discharges, though, any kind of discharge, that includes paper, beer. How much water did Rolling Rock use? We toured, 250,000 gallons a day for Rolling Rock. If she does, we're in trouble. Anybody else think of something? No? Carol, you want to add to that? We did a pretty good job of hitting most of the impairments. So now we're thinking about all kinds of things, and I don't want you to think too much, because I know that it hurts me. So I don't want you to have to go through that. But here's sort of things that we do that impairs a watershed. All we have is one drop to share, and it's kind of sad that one drop to share is being impaired by the stuff that we do. See how this is making sort of an endless vicious loop? Yeah, when you start thinking about all the stuff you use water for, this is how much you have, this is what I do to impair it, you start thinking, well, boy, you know, one of the professors that I had in a university said to me once, he said, you know, I'll never understand for the life of me why we spend millions and millions of dollars to clean water to put it in a toilet. That's sort of thought, well, that's a good point. You know, why do we spend millions and millions of dollars to put it in a toilet? But anyway, activity number, we're moving right along. Activity number 3, which is good. Activity 3, everyone when they came in, and if you haven't, I need you to get one, got a piece of chocolate. You got to pick whichever one you wanted. The reason you can eat those, I just hope, you know, that's a treat from me to you. But what I want you to do is look at the color on the piece of chocolate. Okay? What I need you to do, there's blue, there's gold, and there's green. Everybody that has a blue piece of chocolate needs to sit up front. Everybody that has a gold piece of chocolate in the middle, and everybody that has a green piece of chocolate at the end, 2 tables. Well, you can have them. I didn't give any pinks. You guys are all gold. Can I have one of you move over with these gentlemen here? It doesn't matter who. Just trying to make teams a little more even here. I have a challenge for you. All right? Here's the challenge. We're going to pretend, and some of the things that I'm doing today, just so you know, are activities that you can use. You can take from this class if you're involved with watersheds. You can use it in a classroom. You can use it at any lecture that you'd like, but they're good activities to get involved. This one particularly, we developed about 4 years ago now. I guess it's been a while, because we thought this was a perfect one for kids. But what I've found is this is a good one for adults with active imagination. So I need your imaginations to switch on. All right? I am going to be your very rich Uncle Wendell, okay? And we're going to pretend that I just passed on, or I've actually had a midlife crisis, and I decided, you know what? All of my nieces and nephews, I want to give them something so I can see them enjoy it. All right? Sound good? So I found an old map that we had laying around, and I cut it up because I'm all into paper recycling and all that good stuff. So what I did is I decided every one of you, and every one of you is as a group right here. So there's 3 here, 2 here. Everybody understands that, right? Every one of you, I'm going to give you 5,000 acres. All right? That's pretty nice of me, right? 5,000 acres. This is your 5,000 acres. And what I wanted to do is see, it's all colored nice and green, and it has little streams and stuff through it. I made sure that I gave you streams, because anywhere you go, there's streams. I mean, we just built a watershed. If you have 5,000 acres, make it 10. 10,000 acres, there's going to be a lot of streams on it, okay? I also gave each group of you $10 trillion. I'm your favorite uncle now, aren't I? That's what I thought. What I want you to do is, as a group, decide what you're going to do here. This is 10,000 acres and $10 trillion. I mean, if you want a Kohl's Diamond factory right there, by all means, put it in. If you want, you know, what would you want? She wants a summer camp. So if you want a summer camp, put it in. Me, I like big wildlife preserves and such, and I like doing education things, and I kind of like the city with like all these restaurants. So make this a self-sufficient right? Make this a self-sufficient community on your 10,000 acres. Meaning you don't have to go out anywhere to get anything. It'll be shipped to you. I mean, if you have $10 trillion, we'll give you whatever you want, right? Money talks. All right, can you help me out? This is yours. Congratulations. $10 trillion is just imaginary. What I'm saying is, you can. We should have made some paper money. What I'm saying is, there's no way you're. Okay. Now, some of you probably caught on to what's going on here, and some of you might not, but that's okay. We're going to reveal it. On the back, if you flip to the back, there's a number on every one of them. With the person with number 6, please raise their hand. Number 6. Carol's going to collect these from you, and what I want you to do is real quick, because we are going to run out of time if we do this too long. As she holds it up front, tell us what you did with your acreage and your millions. So elect a speaker and go ahead.
You can come up and point if you want.
That's the bottom. Yeah, like this.
We have a large lake we want to take advantage of, but we don't want to turn this into an environmental disaster by having a lot of roads and a lot of petrol burning there. So we came up with the idea of having a couple of marinas in here, but restricting it to sailboats, canoes, kayaks, and no gasoline-powered boats. We'd like it to be reasonably economically stable, so we have an area down here with a general store and some homes for service people who live here year-round. We don't know where this is, whether we're in a Lake Powell, Lake Mead area, or whether we're up in northern Minnesota. But assuming we're in an area where people come just part of the year, we have to have housing for the permanent residents and recreational housing for the tourists who rent it. Up here, we have a wind farm to generate electricity locally. We assume that this is dammed up further down here in flood control, so we did not put in the dam. Nancy, what about us down here?
Okay. So you focused on recreation mainly, and then how to do it in an environmentally sound way. All right. Good job. And that's going to be your dream place. All right, good job. Good job. Well, it's actually that way, right? Carol's going to tape that up, and what I need then is number 5. Who's got number 5? Here, I can bring it up for you if you want to talk, or you want to come up and talk, or your choice. That'll be on the bottom, dear. Oh.
Okay, we created a conventional living area thinking that we had to be self-sufficient, so we have our own power station, we have our own water plant, we have a sewer facility, we have a city where everybody's going to live downtown pretty much, and some roads. We have a recreation area, we have a river basin here. We've put agriculture out on the high ground upstream. And we do have wind farms for some electrical generation. the power plant, some question about whether that's coal or what. But,
Nuclear.
but the homes are distributed around the perimeter to some of the residential areas. We have a railroad, and we also have a mass transit tram or railroad going to the airport. Going out to the airport.
All right. Very nice. Very nice. Good. Self-sufficient place. Oh, we need that. We need that. All right, here's number 4. You got number 4? You can bring it up. All right. Somebody says. I heard it. All right, number 4. What do we got?
Number 4 here, we weren't too good at team building here. First thought was this 10,000 acres or 5,000, whatever it is going to the Conservancy. We're taking the 10 trillion time, headed for Florida. In order to compromise and show some way of screwing up the land, though, getting into the spirit of things, there are only 3 of us here. One fellow's right next to a road that runs along here outside our property, so we don't screw this up.
Okay.
The other 2 are here. Again, we're trying to conserve this, but again, in order to mess it up so that we have something to talk about. We have a gas well here that feeds the houses both for heating and lighting. We put in a dam here so we can screw up the land down here. We put in a lake, and since we've got a spillway, we put in a power generation.
That's not bad. That's good.
The other thing, we can sell gas and electricity off-site and add that to our 10 trillion and go to South America.
Thank you very much. All right, who has number 3? Come on up, explain to folks what you did.
We have a single plan, look like after we done, we have a highway here, everyone goes down. So we took the up area of the meeting area, we have airport, and put a dam and a fire with a and then put all the farm and dump in the mountain. All the gas and put it down here. Also downtown, it's very much it. And the way development has 6 flags, so the nice area will become a vacation area, will attract nice people coming to spend the money. Like Walmart, and Home Depot, and that's National University, with a high-tech research. It's all about it.
Ah, very nice, very nice. I've made fun of them because I think they were the only ones that put the Walmart there, but the 6 Flags I enjoyed too. What are we on? Number 2. Who's got 2? We're on 2? Yeah, we're on 2, aren't we? Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Well, we're going to put in a wilderness area with a few modifications since there's so much activity. We're going to have a wilderness area, but we're going to have garbage cans around for people to put their trash in. We say the kids put them out in the way. Here they are. Here. We have a visitor center down at the bottom here with some handicap accessible trails near it, and the parking's going to be out somewhere else.
Or your tech center, wherever you don't mind.
We're going to have programs, we have mountaintops, and we're going to have programs for all the different ecosystems. And we have a swamp down here where we almost built it.
Yeah, we were
Visitor center.
Well, we got some professional advice that says don't put it in the center.
Let's see, we're going to have composted toilets scattered around too, to be sure that people don't use the right kind of hole.
Yeah.
What are the rules going to be? Oh, yes, we're going to have packaging
Sounds like New York. Okay, last but not least, of course, trustee number one.
We were a self-sustaining community.
Yeah.
So we allowed space for industrial development. We allowed space for agricultural development and dairy farming, because we thought one of the ideas too was we had to be self-sufficient.
Oh, yeah?
We were going to put housing in this area and then make housing available to people in this area and in this area and place the school between them. And we recognized that we needed a sewage treatment plant, so that would be in the area. And this comes with our
Very nice. All right, so Carol's putting those together for you. And you can see, I think you got it after the first piece fit in, what was happening here. This is actually taken from a watershed in southwestern Pennsylvania. And this watershed flows north. It's one of the few, well, not one of the few, but the way that it flows is, here are the headwaters in the Laurel Highlands. And this watershed flows this way to meet up with the Kiskiminitis watershed and then down to the Allegheny. Yeah, it's again Carroll's watershed. The reason that is because we made a map for Carroll and it's relatively large and I could cut it up pretty easily. So here, I'm going to put this somewhere else, is your watershed pristine. This is as good as it gets. This is all going to be wooded and everything else. And here is your watershed after you're done. Now, I did trick you. I said I wanted you to be self-sufficient, and I said that I wanted you to have fun, and I said that I wanted you to here's your money. Do with it what you want. Because if you think about it, if I wouldn't have harped earlier about, salting on roads, or we wouldn't have brought up those points, and someone actually gave you $10 trillion and 5,000 acres of land, to think that you're just going to leave that land sit there, some of us might, but the majority of the people today in the world probably would not let that land sit there. So this is actually perfect the way this worked out, because you look at the guys' ski areas and the Walmarts and everything else up here, and there's some development up here. I mean, there's some pretty industrial areas and some things which would happen. This is the way life happens. Well, down at the very bottom, there's this nice lake that's sailing. I don't know about you, but I'm not going in that lake. So this is going to be a lake or an activity center that probably goes bankrupt pretty quickly. The idea was great. However, the effects of a watershed can be seen from the very top, and this is the point at the beginning, and this is how I sort of wanted, we'll go over a couple of things, but this is how I wanted to bring it back. All of those effects can be seen from the very top to the very bottom. So everything that happens up here, all of those things that you did, whether it be big or small, had some sort of effect on the watershed. And the end result is those poor folks that are trying to swim in a lake with sewage and animal waste and oil and everything else in it. So that's not to depress you, but that's a fun activity, I thought. Anyways, you all have fun while you were putting it together? Yeah, good, good. Couple discussions that I wanted to go over with, and then I'll give you 10 minutes or so for questions, and I got to wrap up because my time's up. But as you can see on your agenda, how can watersheds be protected, or how can your watershed be protected? The one that you live in, the one that we're in right now. And two, what about your neighbors downstream? So that's sort of a discussion topic, and I throw that out there as I want you to answer that. I mean, you know now as much as I do about a watershed. I mean, there's some scientific mumbo-jumbo that I might know, or yourself. That is actually number one, awareness. And not only yourself, but you do efforts like they're doing today and they're doing now to make others aware also. Next, any other ideas after your awareness? Okay. And then enforce that too. I mean, I think some of our problems are enforcing, what happens there. And I'm not trying to be a naysayer saying, boy, we're doomed. So I apologize if it came off in any way or respect that way. I simply want to present to you the facts of what things do. And you can determine whether you think that's adequate or not. So we have what we have. I mean, I don't want to go out and blow up Walmart. I mean, well, maybe Walmart, but the grocery store, because I shop there. You know, if without it, I don't have any groceries. I don't want to blow up the gas station because then I can't get to work. Yeah, plus all that debris would go. Very good, very good.
I know down in St. Petersburg, they take all their wastewater and they don't put it through a complete recycling, but they do something so they can use the sewer water to water plants.
Yeah,
And it comes back, it's purple water.
yeah.
And drink it.
But you can
It's a way of reusing the water.
to reuse. Yeah, that's a great idea. And actually, you know what folks do is a lot of folks nowadays are putting rain barrels on their downspouts, and they're using those to water their lawns and their plants as opposed to running the hose. No. Well, you can use it for some things, but you can't use it for others. There's a real fine line there. Penn State has what they call the living filter. The living filter, they take the gray water from State College and they pump it up to an ag field, and they spray it on the ag field. But when you start to look into it, that gray water has so much chlorine in it, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's no bacteria alive in that gray water at that point. Yeah. All right, that's good. I mean, we do have a resource. We have to use it. We have to live. I mean, so planning is real good, but this is something to keep in mind while you're planning, yeah. So how about you? Okay, go ahead.
Well, conservation begins at home.
Ah, yes, it does. That begins at home. How about your watershed right now? Right now, in the backyard, what are some things you could do to protect what you have and maybe increase its value? And by value, I'm not putting a money value on it. I'm saying recreation value, the value to you, basically. Okay. Plant some shrubbery or trees. That's a great suggestion. Along the stream bank, you're saying, or just everywhere? And yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Would you get in trouble?
Or if you have trees, you don't have to worry about that because the grass won't grow to any size.
Yeah. So there you go.
For instance, in St. Clair, you have to bag your leaves in the fall. So we don't bag them. We just take them to the backyard and spread them around.
Yeah.
And they disintegrate over the period of the winter.
And that's actually leaves. Great point. He probably has the most fertile soil in his backyard of anybody because he does that. There you go. There you go. So economically feasible. Yeah, that's another resource, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's a good thing too. Yeah.
Spreaders on the bottom of your downspout so that the water goes from that runs off the house onto your land
Yeah.
rather than into the storm.
Storm drains. That's a great point. I know in Philadelphia when I was working there was an ordinance in the town that you had to, without exception, you had to have your downspouts go into the sewer system. That was the law. That was it. Well, if you look, let's say that this is the Schuylkill River right here, and I'm just going to do this real quick for you. Uh-oh. Oh, well. We don't use that much anyway. Can I use this thing real quick? So let's say, yeah, it is. See, look, came right off. All right. So let's say that this is the Schuylkill River. How's that? And it's running downstream this way. What happened is they get millions and millions of gallons influx with the rainwater, and they had to discharge that into the river. Well, here's the big problem. They discharge at point A, and their intake was at point B. So they're discharging raw sewage and stormwater, and then they have to intake it, clean it up, and put it back to the public so they can drink it. So they were working on that when I left. I hope they have that one fixed by now. Anyway, anything else?
As a more general rule, wouldn't you say that looking at all of the waters that are presently in the book, like the one in Philadelphia,
Yep.
which are really doing the wrong thing, they shall be. Why should you put the stormwater into the sanitary sewer system?
Yeah,
For example?
challenges.
Did you mean they put it in the sanitary sewer or?
Oh, no, put it in the sanitary. It was a CSO. I mean, it was sanitary and storm sewer went to the same place and were treated the exact same way.
Around here, they know, and they're spending all sorts of money checking to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good that you're on the right track. They unfortunately were so far gone that. Anyone else? Okay. Restore the functions of the streams. And what? Define that a little further for folks.
Project right back here where it's getting away from hurricanes and roads,
Yeah.
getting across and rock bands, so that the stream regains triple to
Ratios. Okay. More coming. Yeah, I can't get into that stuff. Someone else is going to talk to you about that at a different. Which one was it? 2, 3, 3? 3. So make sure you're here for 3 to see that. Does anyone else have anything? Well, these are some things that you guys can think about, that you can, hopefully reflect back on. You're all, congratulations, you're all experts on watersheds now. Every watershed group in Pennsylvania is right where you are right now. Okay, here's what our problems are. How do we fix them? How do we go about it? So if you have any questions, comments, anything for either Carol, myself, Tracy, whoever else is here, now's the time to ask them. If you're not comfortable asking them in front of a large group, I'm going to be around because I got to clean up all this stuff. So you can just come up and tap me on the shoulder and we can talk. Anybody have anything? All right, good. Then I did my job well. All right, thanks.